guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be fitting the Edelbrock RPM Air-Gap manifold, which obviously I did the unboxing for in the last video. So it's going on here. I'm going to just crack on and get started. First job is to drain the heads, or at least drain the block a little bit so we can get some of the coolant level down out the edge, because when you pull the intake off, the rear parts are an absolute nightmare for leaking in. So fell foul of that in the past, pulled the intake off, left a little bit too much coolant in, dripped into the valley, down in, and I had down into the engine itself, and I had to drop the oil, change filter. Not good, not cost effective, not what we want to do. So I'm going to take the bottom radiator hose off, drain that down a little bit, put the coolant to one side. Hopefully it's in good condition, we can reuse it again. If not, well, fine, we've got some there. And then what we'll start doing is taking the carb off, then obviously the distributor, plug, stuff like that, systematically break it down from the top to the point where we get the manifold off. So when you see me next, I should have it drained and we're on to some of the juicy stuff like taking the carb off. See you soon. Okay guys, so I've dropped the coolant. So I don't know how well you can see, but this is obviously the lower radiator hose. Just pop that off, drain the block, at least enough to get rid of the coolant. That'll be obviously up top in here, in the obviously in the heads and stuff. So yeah, so next is obviously we'll be taking this off, which is like very self-explanatory, but we'll take the filter off and then show you the carb. So that is the carb we have on it. It's a Holly Street Avenger vacuum secondary, and it's a 670, which to be honest works absolutely fine in this application. It's a really good carb. Can't really fault it. You just need to set it up a bit. The whole bay needs a bit of a degrease and stuff, to be honest, because it's just full of dust. But this is the manifold I'm taking off, which is obviously, as you can see, it's the one I'm putting on, which is that bad boy there, is an absolute huge improvement over this one. It's almost stock. I'm actually looking at it and thinking, I wonder what the height difference is. On Summit's website, it reckons the height difference is marginal, if anything. So we'll have a look, see what's what. But we'll start by taking the fuel lines off. Obviously the 4 studs, the brackets that hold the accelerator linkage on, the kickdown cable. Obviously take some of these, the PCV and the vacuum hoses off here. Whip the carb out and then we'll come back for the distributor. A little bit of an update. So I've removed the top radiator hose, which goes to obviously the water neck. Got a new water neck to go on it. We've removed obviously the fuel rail off the carb there. We took vacuum lines off, both obviously vacuum advance and vacuum line that goes to the transmission. And I think we're ready to pull the carb off. We've also taken off the linkage and the kickdown cable. So there we go, and there's the carb off. So pretty easy. Once the carb's off, that's kind of what you're left with. So as you can see, it was a dual plane, so I'm swapping sort of like for like. But yeah, that's it. Really easy job up and now. No real issues. A couple of fittings I'll probably need to dress up a little bit, but as you can see, those were the bolts that I was using, which were, not the best ever. So the new setup's going to look a lot cleaner. Right, so the next step is to obviously mark the distributor wires, make sure we know which ones are going to where. Take the cap off, mark where the rotor's pointing on the cap, so that when we drop the rotor back in after we've put the new manifold on, it kind of lines up almost in the same area. So what I like to do is take a measurement or take a mark from where the distributor, the vacuum advance is pointing, and then also wherever the rotor's pointing, I like to take a mark as well, so that when we can slot it down, we can normally get it in the range of where I like to have it, which is around 34 degrees. And obviously we'll time it up afterwards, but it'll get us in the ballpark so that we can fire it up first, second time once the balls are filled in the carb, and we can tune it from there. But I'm going to crack on with identifying the plug wires and getting the rotor sorted and marked up, and then I'll come back when we're ready to take the distributor out. So I've removed the plug wires from the distributor. I've disconnected the MSD. Obviously wires there, wires here, tack, positive, negative, stuff like that. You've got these 4 screws which basically operate these little tabs that like sort of hook underneath the base of the distributor here. There's 4 of them, so I've taken them off, and I've also marked on the number 1 plug wire with some red electrical tape, which that one was, so oops, so I can basically follow the firing order around when I put it back in. So there we go. To be honest, considering I didn't like, you know, put it on top dead center or anything, it's kind of pointing at cylinder 1 anyway, so like that's pretty cool. So we know, at least we know where that one is. That's a pretty easy install. So yeah, I'll just probably mark the rear of the rotor on the firewall with a paint pen. Do the same, maybe on the. I mean, I don't really need to do that. I kind of know where that's going to be anyway. Word of warning, bit of advice: always pack your intake and your obviously distributor hole with a cloth or a rag or whatever, because this one time at band camp, I was basically putting the intake back on after putting a new cam in, and I'd left the distributor out because that was like sort of one of the last things I was doing, and I was basically doing something. I think I was putting the carb on, and a washer dink dink ding 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 straight down the distributor hole. Luckily, I don't know how it worked, but luckily I was able to fish it out with a magnet in the valley, so I was extremely lucky in that. I don't think I'd ever be that lucky again, so that's just a bit of warning to everyone. Make sure you do pack with rags and stuff your orifices. Right, next step, you've got to hold down here basically to distribute a clamp. You get like a funky tool, or you can just knock it off with a spanner or a wrench if you wish, and then you just pull that off and the distributor will come out. That's obviously after you've marked it. And then what we can do is we can start going round and taking the bolt out of the intake, because there's nothing else holding it down. Obviously on mine I don't use gaskets neither, which you'll probably see on the install of the new Manifold. I don't like to use them. I feel like the weep and stuff, so I put a nice thick bead of RTV in there and let it go off, get a skin, and then obviously place the intake on and let it set for 24 hours before, you know, I start it up, whatever. But I use the Permatex Ultra Black, so it's like, you know, shit sticks, man. So I'm gonna have to break that seal with a bar or something, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, that's where we're at. So we're getting closer. It's not taking too long. Probably been at it, I don't know, maybe like 40 minutes or something, and I've been playing with the dog, letting him out for wheeze and stuff, so it isn't, and obviously filming for you guys as well while messing about changing music, so it isn't a hard job to do. But let's crack on. So I've marked the distributor, I've loosened the bolt, so now the distributor's sort of moving around now, which doesn't really matter because I've marked it on the firewall with a paint pen, like I said, so I know where that is. I'm also a bit of a picture whore as well, so I like to take pictures as I go, so I can always reference them on when I'm putting things back together, because it's just the way I roll. This is obviously the clamp for the distributor. It's nice and simple. So yeah, it's time to pull the distributor out. And obviously as you pull it out, what tends to happen is the distributor will rotate. So the distributor, hopefully I'm still in shot, will rotate like that as you're pulling it out. That's fine. I'll show you when we're stabbing it back into the inlet manifold. Basically the situation when it's obviously rotated like that, and how to put it back in, because you always put it in before. So if you want it to, you know, line up with that mark, we need to put it in a little bit before, so that as it goes down, it meshes with the cam gear and the pump and the oil pump drive, and then sort of spins round into place. So there's a little bit of a knack to it, but it's super simple. It isn't hard. So yeah, we'll get on with that and see how we go. Just one thing I wanted to point out. On my unboxing videos, I mentioned that down the side of the plenum was these 2 bolts on either side, and this is the side that's particularly bad to get to because it has the EGR there. Obviously, I've got a blank plate there over that. But basically, what that does is it allows the carburetor to warm up a little bit sooner. So obviously, it's, you know, helps with cold starts and stuff like that, and getting the car running smoother quicker. But as you can see there, you know how close it is. You get hardly any room to sort of tighten them down, so you've got to do it with a spanner or a wrench or whatever you want to use to get into them. You've got to use your imagination a little bit. But the new one doesn't have this. For me, this has it, although I don't use it because I've got alloy heads on it. But again, it's just something I don't need to worry about. And just for you guys, the way I've tightened these in the past is just get them snug, and then, you know, just use a spanner, a wrench, and just sort of, you know, tighten them as best you can, and get a feel for it with the torque wrench and all the others in that sequence, and then just try and replicate it as best you can. If you know your cars and you've done it before, you kind of have a torque wrench, you know, in your elbow anyway, so it's, you know, your forearm, you know kind of what you're doing with it. So yeah, I just thought I'd show you that just in case you guys were wondering. Obviously there's the other side again, that's a good shot. You can see that, you know, you can't really get a socket in there, especially with the angle. It's just a pain. So yeah, that's that. So that's what it looks like without a distributor. It opens the space right up, so lots of access now. Obviously this is a, you know, if you've got a small block Chevy, you may or may not have had an issue with this in the past. I have had issues with this. This is the, basically it's my oil pressure gauge line, and it's obviously an AN fitting which goes directly into the China wall just behind the intake, but they're an absolute twat. 9 times out of 10 the weep or leak. I've had one which, you know, it was a bit of a nightmare. I had to take it apart 2 or 3 times before I got it to seal properly. So there's that. So just be wary of that when you're disturbing your intake. Try not to knock it, or at least when you put your new one on, just double check that it's tight before you put your distributor in and your carb, because you soon lose a lot of that space. But next steps are obviously go around, take these intake bolts out, which are, you know, they're nothing. You know, it's just take a couple of bolts out. It's not nothing really to film there. And then we'll get the pry bar out or a big screwdriver, and we can see if we can pop this up and go from there. Okay, so you might be wondering what I'm doing with the crowbar in my hand. Well, needs must. I've got all the bolts out of the intake manifold. Just do a quick check. Yes, I've got them all out. But obviously I've put that much RTV on it, it's just stuck, so I'm just going to give it a little persuasion with the, yeah, there you go, it's coming up. Just put it against the alternator bracket or the water pump housing and just give it a little push. Don't have to be crazy, but just enough to break that seal, and then we'll go from there. So might be better with a screwdriver actually, rather than that big thing, so we can get in a little bit easier. Screwdriver. Use a small one. There you go, you can hear it lifting. You put the screwdriver in, just, there she comes. There you go. Seal's broke on the front, leverage will pop the China wall RTV at the back, and now we've just got to see if I've done a good enough job when I drain the coolant to make sure there's none in the block. So wish me luck, guys. And we are free, and also coolant free. Awesome, so that's a good job. So let me show you. I don't know how well you can see this. Obviously I haven't got a cameraman with me, but this is the intake I've got or had. Yeah, it's just not the best. I mean, it serves a purpose. It's a good intake, it's a performer and stuff, but I just think we can do better. So let me show you what it looks like in the valley. So that's the valley. Obviously nice and clean, but that reflection of orange is just off the light against the oil in here. It's pretty clean in there. no issues. But obviously, as you can see, there's that China wall, which is obviously full of RTV, and then you've got the same at the back. So next job is to clean these surfaces up here by scraping all this off with a, you know, a Stanley blade, gasket scraper, whatever you've got. Cleaning all them up, taking obviously the gaskets off on either side, cleaning the surfaces up of the heads, putting the new gaskets on, new layer of glob on either side, and then we're kind of ready to go. But I think what I'm going to do for tonight is, because my dog's getting a little restless, wherever he's gone, I keep chasing him around the garage. He's... Gus, say hello. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to call it a night there. I've had a, you know, an hour and a half on it, you know, and we'll come back tomorrow. When you're at this stage, it's pretty easy to know what you're doing. Obviously, we've got new bolts, new gaskets, new intake. We've got a new water neck, so we won't be using any of the old hardware on it. So it's just a simple job of clean up, stick on, and then we're good to go. So it's Friday today. I'll put all the RTV on and everything, do all the cleanup work tomorrow afternoon. I've got a few jobs in the morning to complete with my dad, and then it can sit overnight. Sunday afternoon, we can come back out, make sure it's all torqued up. Obviously the carb will be on it and everything. We can start the car up, and then we can go for a rip and see what it's like. But yeah, day one in the bag. Cheers, guys. This is the two intakes side by side. When I'm having a look, the Air-Gap sits into the valley a little bit more than the normal Performer. But obviously I use a carb spacer on here, 1-inch carb spacer, and I don't think I'll need that going forward. I think the Air-Gap will kind of take that out. So, and it was an open one as well. So yeah, I think similar but different all at the same time. So these longer runners here, I think, are what makes a difference. And then obviously the nice Air-Gap design will help with hopefully the cooling and stuff like that. So pretty sweet. Right, time to get the faces cleaned up and the surfaces. So I've got one side cleaned up, as you can see, nice and clean. Obviously, you put a towel in the valley there just to catch any crap and crud. I've got obviously the China walls there. They just need a bit more cleaning, but I just thought I'd show you what it looks like, sort of what the maintenance surfaces look like once you've pulled the gasket off and stuff. That's what it looks like before. You see all the crud and crap in there. Yeah, I've you know, to my detriment or not, I always put a little bit of RTV around here that you can see, like a very small smear around all the ports. The Velcro gaskets already come with this, which like sort of compress and seal anyway. But I don't know. I hear horror stories of like sucking intake gaskets in and stuff like that, and I just think, you know what, for the added bit of shit that I'm going through now, I might as well just put it on. Just yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass to get it off at this stage, but I'd rather that than suck an intake gasket and go lean or whatever, or cause issues where I've got to take the intake back off. But that's it. So I'll get this side off, then we'll sort of see what it looks like under there, get it all clean, lay a nice bead of RTV on there, splodge there in the corners of the channel wall, stick the gaskets in, give it a couple of minutes, let it get a bit of a skin on it, maybe like 10-15 minutes, not a couple, and then we'll sort of lay the intake gasket on it, start torquing it down, and then go from there. What I have noticed though is on my old intake, I've had to sort of swap some of the fittings over onto this one. I don't have a 1/2-inch blank bung for that, so I'm not going to be able to start it up today. So I've ordered one off Amazon for overnight. I've used obviously the ones that come in the kit with Edelbrock. Obviously put some liquid PDF in there, some sealer. I've also used a bung here at the back because I don't use that. This one here is a water neck, so you need a 1/2-inch to like a 3/4 MPT barb that sticks out. That's basically for your coolant hose. And apart from that, I'm kind of good. So yeah, waiting on a bung or a blank for this side, and we'll go from there. I have test fitted these, and these are a pretty decent fit. Let me get in the hole. Pretty decent fit they are for for the manifold, and I've also tried them in the heads as well, and they fit like a champ. They also come with these, don't know if you can see, just some washers as well, so the washers fit in there nice. Spot on. One of the one of the things I did hear that is on these ones, sorry it's a mess, I've been pulling gaskets out and stuff. On these manifolds, what I've been led to believe is that if you don't use some of the smaller ones like these, I think these ones are from Moroso, when you put the bolt in, you can't get them tight. I mean, you can see how obviously hard up that is against there. So just watch out for that. Make sure you check your clearances, make sure you get the right bolts. These ones are, for anyone interested, these are part number 38400, and they are 12 points, 1 1/4 inch or thereabouts. So they're long enough to go into the jackets, but they're not they're long enough to go into the heads, but not long enough to go in and interfere with any push rods or any cylinder walls or anything like that you've got that kind of thing, because that's another couple of horror stories that I've read when I've been looking online, that especially the center ones, that they can actually go into the actual cylinders and interfere with push rods and stuff like that. So not good. Do your research. Obviously that's on a small block Chevy, that's going to Camaro. There's obviously lots and lots of variants for Chevys, so yeah, just make sure that you do your homework before you embark on this. Right, like I say, I'll go away, take this off, and then I'll come back with my sort of dropping it on. Alright, so there's one side of the gasket on. Like I said earlier, nice big dob of there and there. Don't worry, I'll smooth that out and up the gasket a little bit. I'll put a little tiny bit around the ports as well, on the other side. And yeah, so we'll do the same on this side. Now the maintenance surfaces are all nice and clean. Put a nice big thick across the china walls on both sides. And then the next time you see me, I'll probably be dropping the intake on, unless things go awry. So wish me luck, guys. So I've just laid the bead of RTV on the china walls. It does look like I've put a hell of a lot on there, and I kind of have, but it says 2 to 4 mil in depth, and I'd say that's about 2 to 4 mil in depth. It does look probably worse on camera, but it's a nice good flat bead, nice and thick. So I'm just going to let that set for a few minutes, and then we'll come in. I need to just address these ports as well, make sure we haven't got any in there. Yeah, just make sure I let it go off a little bit. They say not to let it skim, but I always do, and I've never had an issue with it really, other than that bloody oil sensor at the back. So yeah, what we'll do is let it go off, and then I'll set the tripod up and we'll get it whacked on. Right, it's time to put the manifold on. So what you want to do is make sure you've got a good grip of it. Make sure it's obviously in the right place. So water neck at the front, distributor at the back. Place it right over, get it as square up as you think you can get it. Be helpful if you could use 2 hands. Good thing about the Air-Gap design is that, you know, it gives you a bit of extra extra holes or areas to hold it. So there you go, and keep that nice and flat on there, and then wipe the shitty RTV from the bloody fingers. And then what we'll start doing is putting a few little bolts in, mainly in the corners, just to make sure that we've got them snug, and we just do that with our hands. Don't need to swing off them at this point. So just grab a couple of bolts, make sure we can get a thread in there, which we can there, look, no problemo. In that corner, again, no problemo. Couple in the rear. Just straightens it out, and it's sort of comforting to know that you've kind of got it in the right place. It's light out the way, so you can see what I'm doing. It's a good looking manifold, much better than the other one I had. Not that there was anything wrong with the other one, as you know, but this one's a nice looking manifold. Another thing, before you get down and, you know, dirty with the manifold and start putting it on and stuff, just make sure you've got all your wires out the way, especially the ones that go around the distributor and stuff like that, because it's just not worse. And when you're trying to lay a manifold down and you just really can't because there's just too much shit in the way, it can just go wrong real quick. Put a couple on this side. Hopefully you can still kind of see. Some on the side. I tell you what, those sides now are so easy to put in. It's just unreal. Much better. Much bigger improvement than the last one. Jesus. Also, now I've looked at it. It does look like it does sit into the valley a little bit better than the last one, so it's not as high as I was expecting. So that's a really good thing. So I might even get away with using my spacer. I might not need to. I might run it without, see what it's like, and then stick it on and go from there. So I'll just get a socket so I can put these in a little finger tight. Where did I put that? 2 seconds. Yeah, there it is. Behind the camera. When you're doing stuff in real time, it's a bit like, oh shit, where's that? Oh shit, where's that? Kinda. I'm just conscious I don't want the video to be like a 3-hour-long video, so. But hey, it is what it is. I'm no expert, as you can tell. And if you'd have done this any other, you know, a different way, let me know. You know, if you think I'm doing something wrong, let me know. I'm only human. I'm here to learn, just like everyone else. So, yeah. I'm going to have fun with that that valley underneath that car, I can already tell. Cool. So we're kind of finger tight all the way down, just nipping them. The plan is now is to, like I say, get them finger tight, get them nipped down, and then obviously go around the torque sequence, and then after that leave it overnight, just completely leave it for 24 hours. Rather than walking back in front of the camera, I'll just use the distributor wrench. Yeah, I'm thinking of just leaving it 24 hours, letting the RTV go off, and then we'll start it tomorrow afternoon. I'm also waiting for a bung, so I've ordered a bung from Amazon. So I've got one water neck here, so obviously either side of the thermostat housing here, you've got a bung there and a threaded hole there and a threaded hole there, and obviously one's for your heater and your coolant and stuff like that, and the other one is for me. I don't use it, so I just need a bung. It's just a 1/2 inch NPT bung, and the other one is just like a 1/2 inch to 3/4 barb fitting, which you just slide a hose on, so nothing spectacular. The only thing is I don't have one here, so I've got to get one off Amazon. That's it arriving tomorrow, so I'm not in any rush to kind of get this in place anyway. So yeah, I think just take our time with it, let the RTV set, and then we'll just call it a day. But I'll bring the camera over now. I've got them on, so you can see kind of what it looks like. So you will have to, you'll have to excuse my fumbling. So there you go. That's the manifold kind of installed. Those bolts are much nicer than I was expecting. They're really cool. I really like them. So that's it. So that's the intake on. Go through the torque sequence soon, and then yeah, we'll just start the rebuild process. I did rebuild the carb. When I say rebuild the carb, is put new gaskets in, and I also fitted a smaller power valve because the other one was opening too soon, and I also went down a jet size on the primaries just because it was extremely rich last time. So it was due to a fuel pump issue that I had when I was doing that street weekend a couple of weeks back. So let's see what this is like. Let's see. I'm guessing because of, you know, how tall it is and stuff, it might run a little bit leaner, but we'll see what happens. We'll go from there. But right, see you soon. So that's the inlet manifold on and torque down. So the system I used was obviously Edelbrock's torque sequence. I torqued the nuts down, or the bolts down, to 11 foot-pounds at first, then went round them all systematically at 25 foot-pounds as it says in the instructions, and give them all a nice good snug. What I did do as well is I before I put them all in as hand tie first, and then, you know, dickhead me, didn't follow my own advice, so I took them back out, put some thread sealer on the bolts, and then put them back in. It's just insurance, just to stop any weepage. So that's all done now. It's all torqued down. Obviously the gasket's all set nice on the china walls, but we have discovered an issue. The kickdown bracket no longer fits on these holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the kickdown bracket off and try and like shave this piece of material out here to so it obviously clears that bulge there, and then try and get it to fit in there. Bit of an unexpected job. Edelbrock do sell a bracket for it. Obviously I'm in the UK, so it's not like an overnight thing neither. I could leave it off because it is a TH350, so I've got no issues there, and just shift manually if I need to kick down. But I like having the kick down, or the passing gear, as you guys call it in the States. So I'm going to try and shave that bracket and save some money, because I've just had a look on eBay over here, and it's like 3 or 4 days ship, and it's Sunday now, so I probably won't get it till maybe Thursday or something. And it's £80, 80 quid, so that's like probably $100 in the States. So if I can get away with shaving that piece of material off, then I'll do that, because I don't want to really spend £80. So I'll pull that off, see if I can get it shaved, give it a lick of paint if I can, get it all fitted up, and then I'll let you know how I go. But just be mindful in the future, if you are fitting a small box Chevy and you want your passing gear, you're going to have to come up with a way to connect that bloody kick down cable. Alright, ta-da! So that's a kick down bracket. Obviously, let me focus. I've notched this part out here quite a bit, and then just give it a bit of a paint. It's not great. It's not, you know, but it'll do the job. It'll work fine. It's like amateur hour over here. My light's also gone, so I've had to charge that thing up. So just a nightmare. But yeah, this is ready to go back on now. So I've also put the water neck on as well while I was waiting for that paint on that Acura. So it's just 2 bolts. I've put some new O-ring, rubber O-ring underneath it. It's a tiny little bit of RTV, and I've also put some thread sealer on the bolts and torqued them down. So ready to rock. Stick this kickdown bracket on, and then we'll stab the distributor in, and then we're getting somewhere near. Cool. Alright, so it's time to stab the distributor in. So again, I don't know how good you can see this because I'm sort of alongside you, but that little white paint mark on the firewall there, that's what I basically marked on the top of the rotor, which is there. So if you remember a little bit earlier on, the actual rotor was pointing towards the #1 cylinder, with the rear of the rotor pointing at the firewall. So I just marked the rear of the firewall with the rear of the rotor, and then we should just be able to stab it in. So we just need to make it go a little bit past where it was, and then allow it to drop in, and then it should just mesh up. There we go. Let me double check. Yep, spot on. So that's it. So that's where it was originally, which, as you can see, well, isn't a massive ordeal. So now what we need to do is, obviously, now that that's timed up, or in a position where it was before, That's sort of static. Obviously the base can move, and that's for your vacuum advance. So on the when we had the vacuum advance last time, it was about there. So what we do is put it in where it was roughly, stick the distributor clamp down and tighten it to the point where it's tight, but you can still move the base plate, so you can set the advance and the timing and stuff, but so it's not obviously really loose. Then when we fire the motor up, it'll be in a position whereby we can just get hold of that, get the light on it, and then just go from there. I like to be at 34 degrees all in by 23 to 2500 RPM, and then I call that done. I think that's a pretty safe bet for small block Chevys anyway, so that's where we like it. Right, next steps are obviously carb studs in, carb on, distributor cap on, plug wires, hook up the fuel and the linkages. Obviously I've got the kickdown cable bracket on there now with the kickdown cable attached, so that's not too bad. And then coolant, and then see if we can fire it up. But it's going pretty alright. I've had a few little daft niggles off camera, just, you know, little bits and pieces, but nothing that you can't do at home. That was kind of like that bracket was kind of the thing that sort of came out of the woodwork. But again, I'm no expert. I'm sure there's better ways of doing things, but this is all done with hand tools in the garage, so I actually filed that out. So that's why it took a bit longer than it should. My brother's got the grinder, so I thought I'll just file it out rather than make a trip to get the grinder. And to be honest, it worked pretty well. So distributor caps on, the MSD box, and obviously all the ignition wires and stuff are attached. Carb studs, rallied the carb studs down, they're all good. Obviously new gasket to put on, so it's just ready to pop the carb on now. So we'll grab that and see how we go, I guess. I am wondering, this is the part where you've got to check it for height and clearance, because I'm kind of wondering if I can, you know what, I can get away with not using one, but I'd like to use my carb riser if I can. So we'll go from, we'll see what it looks like. Leave that off for now. I think this will give me a pretty good idea based on where the, yeah, do you know what? Will it fit? Will it fit? It kind of looks like it'll fit. That's kind of like in the right place. The kickdown mechanism is. I think what we'll do is we'll put the air filter on, shut the hood, and we'll see if we've got clearance. Yeah, we'll do that, because I'm not buttoning all this up and then having to take the bloody carb off and everything to put the friggin' thing back on. This is where I need a bit of Play-Doh, something I haven't got any. I know it is a little bit taller actually, and I know that because I don't normally hit that light with the air filter when I put it on. So let's see what this is like. Right, earthquake test here while I move the tripod. Stick it over here. Hopefully you can see that. Alright. Going down. I think it fits. I think it fits. Awesome. Well, that's a stroke of luck. Cool. Right then, well, we've settled it. We are using the carb riser, the spacer, obviously, as you can get the light under there. Oh man, meanest janky light thing. Right, as you can see, it's obviously it's an aluminium 1-inch riser. So I think it kind of makes the engine look a bit taller, a bit cooler as well. Bit more tunnel ram. That's what we need. Awesome. Right, I'll get this car bolted up and we'll go from there. But it's looking pretty sweet at the minute. Like, I must say, I do like that intake. That's pretty cool. Right, let me get this buttoned up because I'm getting excited now. So, got my gaskets on, top and bottom of the riser. Got the car bolted down, obviously all the bracketry on that you can see. Throttle, kick down cable, all that's hooked up and adjusted correctly. Next thing I'm going to do is start sticking the plug wires on. So, don't know if you can see this, but on my distributor I've just marked that with a paint pen as number 1, and then we'll just follow it round systematically in the Chevy firing order, and then we're kind of almost there. I think just, you know, plumb the carb with the fuel rail there, put some coolant in it, and then we're ready to start priming it up and getting it running. So shouldn't be too long and we should hear this thing purr. See you soon. So we've got the plug wires in, everything's routed, top hose to the radiator on, all that's in, air cleaner on obviously. Looks a bit bright because I've got the, sorry, that's maybe better. All the linkage is all set up, everything's hooked up, everything's ready to go. So we're just going to give it a quick fire. If we got it somewhere near, it should start. Well, I would call that a success. Everything's working. There's no leaks. Everything's fine. Started on the button straight away. I'll just go off camera now, time it up to where it needs to be. Go from there. So, thanks everyone for watching. I know that the video was extremely long. Hopefully you've got something out of it. Hopefully it helps you when you come to swap intakes on your small block Chevy. If you've got any questions, any advice, any feedback, stick it in the comments below. I know it's obviously a long video, but you know, I think that it might help someone. So yeah, until next time, make sure to subscribe if you can, share it, like it, that'd be awesome. Follow me on Instagram at the.nightmaro and stay up to date with the car. Till next time, thanks everyone, appreciate it, bye guys.